Welcome to Couch Talk with Molly, where Molly gets to talk it up with some fantastic people from First Pres Norman.
Everybody, I am with Tim and Diana Hartley. Yay! So tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Ladies first.
Okay. Ready? Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So I'm a native Oklahoman. I grew up in Cushing, the pipeline capital of the world. Also home to one of the largest above ground swimming pools. So a lot of people don't know that about Cushing.
How large is it?
It was a WPA project. And so definitely when I was a kid, it felt like it was enormous, but it really is. It's one of like the top 3 largest public above ground swimming pools in the U.S. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
So, pretty famous place, yeah. I came to the University of Oklahoma where I got my degree in journalism in public relations and then graduated in 1983 and went to my first job. And we'll tell you a little bit more about that here in a minute.
Okay.
Your turn.
My name's Tim, and I'm from Washington State. And it is known for scenic beauty and mountains and seafood and volcanoes and...
Okay, you win.
You don't have the largest above ground pool.
Largest ocean. Yeah.
tech titans, airline companies, on and on and on.
Okay.
It's a great state or what.
Yeah.
So I left all that behind and moved to Oklahoma.
Good choice.
Because my parents had moved here while I was in college. And so when I got through with college at Washington State, I came back to Oklahoma where my parents lived and started looking for my first job. And I got an interview in Elk City. You just go out I-40 for about 3 hours and there you are. And I walked into the newspaper office of the Elk City Daily News,
where I was working as a reporter and photographer, and he walked into the door. His tie was blown over his shoulder, and he had on aviator sunglasses with the reflector glass.
I did.
And I remember thinking to
Very
myself
cool.
at that moment, please God, do not let them hire him. And yet they did. And
Of course they did.
the rest is history, I guess, right?
Office
Yeah.
romance.
Exactly. That you're not supposed to do, but 35,
It was
almost
it was
36
unavoidable.
years later, I think it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what
It's
brought
okay.
you from Elk City to Norman?
Well, couple of newspaper jobs. I was a newspaper reporter. We went to Bartlesville. I became a business writer there,
Okay.
covering Phillips Petroleum. And then came to Norman, to the Transcript, where I was the business editor in the late 80s.
Okay.
And I've worked in Oklahoma City really ever since. And now I'm with Devon Energy. Commitment runs deep.
And I, when we moved from Elk City to Bartlesville, they wouldn't hire both of us because we were married. And so I went into the money side of media and sold advertising and was the advertising manager at the Transcript, and then kind of moved my career out of media into public relations, public education, marketing. And I now teach at OU, teach nonprofit business classes, and then I do some consulting with nonprofit organizations.
That's really
So
fun.
where commitment runs deep as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so what brought you to First Presbyterian?
Kids. We had little
Yeah.
ones. And I had been in the wilderness for probably a while. But we had that Presbyterian seed planted when I was a kid. And so when it came time to pick a church in Norman, I said, well, we'll go to the Presbyterian church. That was it.
And I honestly didn't care where we went, as long as we went. I grew up Baptist, converted to Episcopalian when I was in college. And so I've been kind of on both ends of the spectrum. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
kind of in the middle.
So it worked out great. We said we got to go to church for the kids, But then I think we got as much, if not more, out of it than they did. So it was a good move for us, definitely.
So we've been at First Presbyterian Church since 1997.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
And I think the more I've learned there, the more I've been exposed to theology and fellowship and worship and everything that happens there, education certainly, the more Presbyterian I become.
Yeah.
More every day. Love it.
Well, and we were kind of talking about when we first started there, and Hal Peace and May Hicks were the two pastors, because we visited a number of times and we just loved them. First time I'd ever heard a female preach, because I grew up Baptist.
Yes, you did.
And so I remember just going, oh my gosh, women can do that?
So we joined the church, and then we learned they were interims.
We had no idea.
What? Who's this Bob Rice guy? But we grew to love him over many years.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
one of my favorite stories, during Advent, there's a very set Advent schedule, of course. And you don't just randomly get to baptize people during Advent. At least that was what we were told. But it was 1999, and Y2K was right around the corner.
The end of the
December of
world.
99.
Yeah.
Somehow, I don't even remember the details at all, but we persuaded Bob that Tyler and Sarah, our two children, they really needed to get baptized before 2000. Because we, just in case the world ended or anything, I worked at the electric company at the time, and we were all about Y2K. The lights were going to all go off, and everything was going to fail, and chaos would
Computers were gonna
reign,
shut
and the
down.
world would end.
Yes.
So we had a baptism during Advent in 1999. Little Ty and our little Sarah got baptized at Christmas. It was very, very nice.
Oh, I love that. All right,
Oh, yeah.
so what have been some of your favorite memories at First Pres, besides just being your kids being baptized?
My turn?
Sure.
Okay. So, one of mine, I will say, is just watching our kids, of course, grow up in church and being involved in the youth ministry team and youth trips, choir trips, all of that. And the youth choir would do musicals. And so in one of the musicals, Sarah did a commercial during the musical for a product called Have It All. And so we always that's a favorite memory of her doing that, and just those musicals were awesome. And Susie Jones has just kind of been that constant, and it's just so very, very fun, very memorable. And then probably my other one is, again, I grew up Baptist, and I was on fellowship, and we were trying to think of ways to really bring people together for fellowship activities, and I do like wine, and so I was on the fellowship committee too. When we came up with the concept of, can we do a wine tasting? Can a church actually have a fellowship event and it be wine tasting? And so we did it, and it was one of the most successful and longest running fellowship activities that we had. But they asked me to just kind of speak during church about the wine tasting. Again, grew up Baptist. And so I just remember, I do a lot of public speaking, but I was really, really nervous to get up in front of a church congregation and talk about wine tasting. But of course, I did what any good Bible scholar would do and refer to Jesus' first miracle, which was turning water to wine. And I really mustered through that. So, yeah. The hors d'oeuvres that people would bring, that was
cool.
That was a contest.
It did become a contest.
Presbyterians, man.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Fun.
Okay, your
All right,
turn.
Tim.
There's so many over 23 years.
Oh, sure.
I remember Dan Matthews teaching a number of C.S. Lewis Sunday school classes. Jim Brown's leadership of the Thursday morning men's group. That I'm not the perfect attendance guy, but I love that group and I love those guys, and it's just a precious treasure that we have in our church, that those men are so faithful. I taught Sunday school for 6 or 7 years. Nobody wanted to teach middle school, so I just kept doing it and kept doing it and kept doing it. So there's a whole generation almost of kids who literally grew up in our church that were all younger than my own kids. So I got to keep being in middle school all over again. And I think my very last alumni graduated from high school this year.
Okay.
So no longer, unless I try it again, will I be beaming on those occasions when my kids are up there singing or preaching or reading or performing. But those are irreplaceable memories of being part of the lives of so many young people. One more.
Okay.
My kids were actually younger than the middle schoolers and high schoolers at this time. And there was an event called Youthquake. You remember Youthquake? I don't know if they still do it.
But
it was an annual event in the springtime out at Canyon Camp in Hinton, Oklahoma. And you could fill up a church van full of the kids from our church that went and joined other youth out at Youthquake. And I was asked to be the adult supervision. For the first time in my life, someone said to me,
you're an adult.
Tim, we need some adult supervision, and we'd like you to provide it. And I'm just like, oh, right on, I'm there. But you mentioned in our green room session when we were prepping for this that we might get into what we see,
Yes, our hopes.
what we hope for the future of our church, and that for me would be for more and more people to experience what we have, which is a lifelong relationship, long-term, really getting to know people and love them, and see them through the good times and the bad times and the nothing times and the all times. Just to be in fellowship and worship with our friends. They're our church family. They really are, and they know who they are. And that's probably the most precious gift of all. Is the gift of love that gets celebrated at church.
Wow. Hopes and dreams for First Presbyterian Church Norman. I know a lot of times we focus on growth and on numbers, but kind of like Tim said, some of those small group experiences and the things that I think have been most powerful in my life are the small group experiences. So right now I'm part of the Deb's Women's Circle, and gosh, those women, Molly's one of them, have become just a great source of support and encouragement and love for each other. I used to attend women's Bible study, book study on Wednesday nights. Just a lot of the small groups that we do, the prayer triplets that we just finished, all of those things. I mean, going to worship is great. Michael's sermons are, they're okay.
I've heard horrible.
Yeah. Clark is incredible, of course.
I've heard he's okay.
Yeah. And we have a few people that can sing, yes.
Right.
I mean, all of that is obviously part of what the experience is, but when you really get to know people, that's what makes it, like you said, a family. Friends become family, and we drink wine together. We're in a small group that drinks beer together.
Right.
We're in a small group that watches Northern Exposure together,
Oh,
that old television show
Yes.
that grew out of a Lenten study group. So
that's really fun.
that is, I think about when our son and our daughter got married, and then I get emotional. I mean, we had the majority of people that were there for our family were from our church. So
That's true.
That's our family.
This has been Couch to Talk with Molly. My thanks to the fantastic Tim and Diana Hartley.
So we've gotten through this time virtually doing stuff like this, which is, as I said, priceless. But the fact is, our paths crossed at a place, which is our church. And so when we all get to be back there, there will be rejoicing.
Oh, amen. Amen.
Yeah.